Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. In this video today, guys, we're going to be jumping into several altcoins and giving you a bit of an update on what is going on with the price action. As we get into this video, if you do find it useful and informative, hit that like button. Really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe? Tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. Right, with all that said, done and out of the way, let's jump on down to the desktop and take a look at a few altcoins to see exactly what's been going on most recently with the altcoin market. Okay guys, so we're going to start things off with VeChain, and obviously we're just going to be taking a look at that overall structure, right, that weekly chart. Okay, so basically, most of the altcoins that we kind of have invested in on the channel, not all of them, but most of them are following the 5 impulsive moves to the upside. Okay, so Elliott wave, and ultimately, we are trying to get into this 5th wave in a really strong way. Now, for VeChain, we kind of kick-started things down here when we bottomed out with wave 2. This was around August time. September was the month of pullbacks. We made that happen as a collective. Basically, you expect something to happen, you make it happen, and so forth, right? So basically, that downward trend is kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. Then we started to get some good traction, and obviously, most recently, with $800 million liquidation through leverage positions, Bitcoin took a dive, right? And obviously, bringing the altcoin market down with it. And again, I went through this yesterday with why I feel that we're not in alt season. Yeah, okay, because in alt season, the altcoins go and Bitcoin goes down, okay, money rolls around. But instead, what you've seen is the altcoins pretty much still linked up with Bitcoin leading the way, okay? And so therefore, Bitcoin fell down. VeChain, in this case, also came back down, okay? So this deviation from plan is frustrating. And I did go through this with Cardano yesterday, where I do feel its deviation could actually have long-term damage to its slightly longer-term price prediction for the bull run. For VeChain here, I actually feel it's okay at the moment to still head out to the trends of this bull run, okay, these 5 impulsive moves. So the trend of the bull run does indicate a 4.236 extension at $1.20. At the moment, I think that's still pretty okay, but we are getting closer and closer to the point where we're saying, okay, that might be less and less likely, okay? It becomes more and more less probable, specifically as we get closer and closer into December, and we are still trending down in the last 2 weeks, okay? So it's important that we acknowledge that. With that being said, there are some patterns that are forming here, and we do start to see a reversal. There's a little cup and handle here forming on the VeChain weekly chart, okay, and again that's also seen on the daily. So again, there are some things that could be positive in the short term, medium term, and long term as well. Okay, so for now, obviously we have to take it out on the chin. I still think we are in a bull run. I've been through this as well as to why I don't think we're in a bear market. Again, you look at Bitcoin across several years. You can look at the Gaussian channel. Usually a bear market is triggered once we're inside the Gaussian channel. We're not inside the Gaussian channel. We've got quite a bit of distance to fall down before that would be the case. So not a bear market, a bull run. And what you've seen here is basically some retail investors who got way in over their head with leverage and basically were liquidated because institutions, whales, can see this kind of data and they can swing the market in the opposite direction to those leverage position. Now, on this channel, we don't use leverage. We would never kind of suggest using leverage. It's high risk, and you end up in a situation where you get wrecked very, very fast. And therefore, we buy the asset, we own the asset, we decide when we sell that asset. It's never going to be taken away from us. We use things like hardware wallets, cold storage, etc., to make sure that even if an exchange gets hacked, we also have security around those hardware wallets. They're not 100% perfect, obviously, but they're a little bit more secure, and therefore, obviously, we are in control. And not saying that keeping your cryptocurrency on an exchange isn't secure, because there's a lot of very secure blockchain exchanges out there, right? Binance is very secure. Crypto.com, I think, is the world's most secure. So I think there are ways that we can kind of acknowledge that some exchanges have got improved security, but they're not obviously 100% either. So it's important that you obviously take and understand the risks. So getting back to the altcoin market, obviously those leverage positions really did hurt the overall crypto space, and that's it hurt obviously the retail investors who got liquidated. It lined the pockets of the wealthy, and obviously anyone else who's hodling, it hurt those too. In a very much a similar way to the SEC damaging the XRP retail investors, because the people who they're supposed to protect, they file a lawsuit and billions of dollars of damage is done. Okay, and I think it's important that we acknowledge, that this is a corrective state, and I can go through that on many different charts many different times over, but basically the altcoin market itself is it's all corrective. It's very choppy, as I think Matt from 𝗕𝗙 would say, and basically it's just full of lots of ABC corrections, ABC ups, ABC downs, and so forth. It's just repeating at different levels of extent. And the good news is it's not impulsive down. It hasn't changed the overall trend of the bull run. We haven't slipped into a bear market or anything like that. Okay, so for VeChain here, we jump down into our hourly. We can see that we are already pulling that stochastic back down. Let me just get rid of that for a sec. And we can see that, there is this downtrend, right? We can see this, right? We are pulling back, and basically we're just full of these ABC corrections. And there's a lot of them. So for example, A, B, and then we're in this middle of the C right now. So the expectation for VeChain here would be to pull back a little way further. If I grab hold of this and we throw that on, we could be looking to go down to about 8.7. We're currently trading at 12. I don't think that's necessarily, where we're going to, but that's the most probable location for the correction. With that being said, I reckon there's a lot of support here, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we actually only pull back to 11.5. Okay, and these C waves, they usually go 1 for 1 with the A wave, but at the same time, we acknowledge that sometimes they actually fall short. Okay, and then they move on up. And in the upward trend, you have the very similar thing. So, for example, we have this A, a B, and a C. It's a very short C wave before we brought in the next A, B, C down, right? A, and actually the thing here is it's actually a little bit higher. It's there. There we go. A, B, and C, right? We can see that the C wave was longer than the A wave. Okay, and before we went back up again. So they don't always marry up, but usually as a general rule, we like to say that the C wave is equal to A wave. But I think actually for this, I think we're more unlikely only going to pull back to 11.5 around this area of support that we've seen previously with VeChain. So yeah, we're still expecting that pullback, and what we're waiting for really is for Bitcoin to kind of get its get back on track, start to climb up again, which I do feel is coming. We are expecting some interesting numbers from Bitcoin, obviously, but whilst people are still using leverage, I still expect there to be a significant amount of liquidation events on the horizon. Ultimately, it's prolonging the bull run, that kind of level of manipulation from the whales, basically, using those leverage positions to their advantage. So it's important that we do acknowledge what's actually going on there as well, right? And ultimately, with everything kind of leading, or Bitcoin leading the way, then obviously you're going to end up in that situation with those altcoins. Now, ultimately, I think retail investors are going to get incredibly frustrated very fast with it, and just avoid Bitcoin. Okay, and then they'll start going into the other altcoins, but that isn't going to protect them either. We saw that Ethereum had the most amount of liquidations. Again, the safer bets, right? This is what's often what you hear in the space. Bitcoin and Ethereum are the safer bets. I disagree. I don't think there's a safer bet at all. Yes, they've been around a little bit longer. They're not rug pulls in that sense, but if you do solid research, you can find good, solid altcoins that are also not rug pulls. But also, you just think about it from a portfolio builder. They produce you less gains, yet people are still going after those too, because of this weird narrative that's out there. But nonetheless, I digress. So VeChain is obviously on a corrective state right now. If we jump over to Harmony 1, we can see that we were very choppy here. We had a good trend down, big ABC, as you can see, big ABC down, and then we're tracking this big ABC up. Now, again, we fell short, right? We can see that we fell shorter than my expectation of a 1 for 1. You can see just short there. So again, we can acknowledge that it was close to it, but wasn't quite there. And then obviously we're looking at this ABC down right now. So again, a corrective state. We have the A, we have the B, and now we're looking to pull back down. If we actually get rid of this fib and we grab another one here, we run it from the top of our C wave, which would be right there, down to our A, and we throw this on top of our B. We can see that we could potentially pull back to 26.9. I still, again, feel that's a little bit on the lower side. If we take a look at the support line here of about 28 cents, I think that's a really good stronghold. But there's also a couple of additional areas. But we are expecting to pull back with Harmony here. How low it goes is, again, the thing. We'll obviously have our worst case scenario here of about 26.9. And we'll, again, be looking at these interesting areas, a good level of interesting support here. But we do have to go down lower than our A wave. So we're looking at anything lower than 29.3 to complete the move. So maybe it's a 28.8 or even a 28.5 down a little bit lower to maybe 27.9. Okay, so lots of different kind of levels here, lots of good support for Harmony. And so I am expecting a pullback, but I'm not expecting a huge significant pullback. I will leave it the 1-for-1 though. So again, very choppy, very corrective, but money can be made on these moves. If you're hodling, just manage your emotions, manage your expectations, and you're going to do okay. If you're trading, this is a relatively ideal day trader's kind of dream right now, because you can just see these moves repeating themselves up and then down and up and then down, right? And you can take advantage of that, right? So it's important that you acknowledge different strategies can play out for you, and I imagine that there's a lot of people making a lot of money right now in the crypto space by trading these patterns repeatedly. So again, Harmony 1, do expect a correction in the same way that we were expecting a correction with VeChain there. To the extent is the thing that's up for debate. There's a good level of support on both those altcoins. Now, 𝗕𝗓 is another project I think is absolutely critical for retail investors to do research on if you're not familiar. Now, this is actually entered into my buy zone. My buy zone was actually triggered at 185 down to 157. This is an interesting opportunity, but we are still expecting more of a downward swing. And again, this buy zone was put in place well before we started to see a significant pullback like we have done. So potentially you could argue that this actually needs to be a little bit lower now. Okay, and as we actually go ahead and measure the distances here, we can see that there's this A, a B, and we're in the middle of a C wave, right? And coming back down. So the expectations with 𝗕𝗓 to actually pull back, it's quite hard to actually trade this one because it's got a little bit of volatility there. So it could go down to $1.20, which would be an absolute steal. Whether it actually does, I don't think. There's good strong support at 157, so we could find ourselves actually just bouncing around here for a little while and really taking advantage of this scenario. Again, this actually is completing arguably a head and shoulder pattern here as well. So again, we should acknowledge that if I grab hold of my head and shoulders, wherever I find it, there we go. We could acknowledge that there is the possibility to see this. Grab hold of that and bring that down to about here, up here, and then here you go. And then you're starting to see that pullback. So here's your head and shoulders. And then again, here you can see that we are pulling down below the neckline right now. So we could see a slightly higher dip with 𝗕𝗓, but this project I think has absolutely some absolutely amazing potential long term. So if we actually go up into our daily view, you can see some of the things that we've been kind of scoping out: $27, $120, etc. This is a project that hasn't really fully launched yet. They've got their launch pad. They've got DynaSets coming, which basically is artificial intelligence managed portfolios. This is a fantastic project. I think is going to do incredibly well, and this is a hell of a discount for 𝗕𝗓 right now. They obviously did the new net launch. I think they sold out in like 1.5 minutes, something like 90 seconds, which was phenomenal. A lot of frustrated people in the space with that one because it actually was quite costly to move 𝗕𝗓 over into the right wallet on Ethereum to actually take part, and then obviously not actually able to take part. So very frustrating for many retail investors, and obviously quite a costly one as well, which is rather unfortunate. But I think there's going to be a lot more launches to go on those launch pads. So, I think there's a lot of fantastic opportunities to come there. But above and beyond that, really, the power of 𝗕𝗓 for me comes in on those DynaSets. So do some research on it as a retail investor, because I think it's going to be something that you're going to want to know about, and you might actually want to take advantage of this dip scenario on 𝗕𝗓 so that you can actually participate in some of the fantastic things that they are going to be offering on the Cardano ecosystem once the PAB launches there. So lots of fantastic things going on in the background of a lot of these projects. 𝗕𝗓 is definitely one that you're going to want to pay attention to, in my opinion. Now, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, nor is Chris. It's important that you do your own research. There is no substitute for it. Don't just take my word for anything. Don't take Chris's word for anything. Don't take any influencer's word for anything. Make sure you do that research, because in doing so, you'll confirm the truth and confirm the facts from the fiction, and ultimately make your own decision based on your own research, which is absolutely key in this space. I'm not going to go through any more altcoins. They're all relatively similar in terms of what they're currently doing, right? There's corrective action all over the place. And like I said, this is a bit of a trader's paradise because you can, of course, make money in these patterns that are repeating themselves over and over and over again. Obviously, I don't tend to do too much trading. I do it a little bit with the Patreon members and to kind of educate them on how to kind of enter these trades, where to potentially be looking for the buy zones, the sell points, following the patterns, how to use the exchanges, etc. But I haven't got the time to actually actively sit there and watch a chart consistently and basically make day trades, right? I like the trades that we are doing with the Patreon members are longer term, as in they span multiple days. And ultimately, in this kind of space, in these kind of situations, you don't necessarily want to be opening up a trade and leaving it for several days. If you're a day trader, if you've got the time and you have the ability to actually read the charts, then actually day trading it and making sure you open and close your daily trades in a really good state, then actually I think you're going to perform incredibly well right now. But that being said, I will leave the video there. If you have found this video useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you happen to be new to the channel, why not go ahead and subscribe, tap that bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. With this said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.